that's talked about in the Bible.
Where John said he was exiled too.
There you go. See, not unlike they were talking in the car, they tell you. The deal of it is, do you know what you're hearing? And so if people don't have these reference points, the hybrids can do stories just like Wild Wild West with Will Smith, The Black Knight with Martin Lawrence, True Romance with Anthony Hopkins, The Wizard of Oz, and the people don't know that they're talking about them. But what does it do? It reduces the karmic debt response.
Mm-hmm.
Just like when you were talking in the car earlier, and Sis was analyzing to figure out the dog and pony show that's being played out now.
Mm-hmm.
The interjection that I would have interjected to give thought to the process to look at would be the two United States.
Okay.
The corporation distinguished from the legitimate treaty agreements concerning trade on the organic land, LAND.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not aware of that, it confuses because you already know, well, here's two hybrids, neither one of them are what? The true aboriginal. So ultimately, what's being played out here? One to get you to accept the other, whereas both you lose.
Yeah.
And what are we supposed to be doing? What are we supposed to be doing meanwhile?
And that's
claiming your estate while they're squabbling over your estate.
Mm-hmm. Here's a question here. Let me ask you about that. I missed it. It was a little while. I missed that question. All right. I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
No, it was, you may know about this, but I'm not sure if it's here. Hybrid people that come once a year to impregnate women. What was that?
For you all who are listening, look up heterogeneous hybrid. And that'll give you even more clear comprehension of what we're talking about.
Heterogeneous.
Yep. This is where you'll see in the Oxford Dictionary, where the anthropologists make reference to the Englishman. He says, at best, we Englishmen are but heterogeneous hybrids. They're telling you. It's not that it's not written. It's not that it's not there. But most people don't know what they're reading, do they? And of course, most of our people, in these most recent generations are scared of books. If it ain't the Bible or the Quran or the Torah, they're scared. They're not supposed to get into that kind of stuff. That's God stuff, It's not spiritual.
We're getting close to the time.
Anyway. Dr. Naila.
Yes.
Why don't you tell me about this error? This is clearing the air around me.
Oh, wow.
This is called fresh.
Yeah, it kills SARS-CoV-2.
Yes.
Which is supposedly the virus that leads to COVID.
Yeah.
C. And it kills all kinds
and
of
also others.
Allergens, dust mites.
This would be great for people who have asthma or other emphysema.
So it's your personal air where you go air purifier.
This is cool. I like this.
It's a personal air purifier.
All right.
Have them available.
So call Dr. Naila. Y'all can find out about this.
Yes.
Also, the House of Reawakening Minds support you. Support the House of Reawakening Minds.
2,000 people.
And we appreciate you all.
7 people give us a donation.
Oh, that's a.
But it's almost 2,000 people.
We appreciate you all. We want you to know that. We really do. And so many of you have helped the best that you can over the years. And while we can't always mention all of you by name, we do appreciate you. And I think in the future, some of the main people who have been consistent, name them. It's because you really are appreciated.
Because you all are super supporters.
Yes,
and we appreciate you. I wanna just say to I'm just gonna give a shout out. I want to share this. I shared this with you today, but I want to give a shout out to Brother Keith Campbell.
Yes.
Keith has been my neighbor. We've been neighbors here. He was
Oh yeah, down the street.
About 28 years ago in this block. And I think I've known him before that. And he just found out, I think yesterday, talking to some people about nationality, birthright, grand chic, House of Reawakening Minds, Dr. G. And in the midst of this conversation, they were telling him where they wanted to go. And he realized that
you were down the street.
I'm his neighbor 3 doors away. And he, as a matter of fact, he gave a donation. I said, he was just so excited, you know, to realize, you know, he's ready to nationalize. He's a professional and he's a minister and a Bible teacher and everything. But 2020 has awakened a lot of people.
Oh yeah,
a lot of people. And so I want to say thank you for your awakening.
And for him, this is what I have to say. I hold my hand out all the day long to a hard-hearted and rebellious people who are not called by my name. When they repent from their sinful ways, I will hear from heaven and heal their land.
That's right. That's right. And you know, so I mean, all of you, we appreciate each and every one of you. Especially our regulars. I mean, there's no way I see new names. You know, I'm looking, you don't see the screen. And then I see, you know, the regulars. I see El Banjo and Sade and, you know, different ones that are regular on there. I mean, I call all your names, but Sade and El Banjo and Sister Farrell L and Sister Jasmine over in the UK, they are on my Tuesday show as well as Fridays. I mean, they're here. And some of you others, and I just, you know, thank them, you know, for being regular supporters. You know, it's like it's the kin folks. We come together, but what we need to do is we need to unify. We are, you know, I'm going to have an awesome show, I believe, on the 2nd. I mean, on the 19th, which is Tuesday, with a sister that is a numerologist, and she is awesome.
Oh, she's great, yeah.
She's a bomb, and she's going to do some numerology, but she has a message about what's going to happen on the 20th that we need to hear.
Everything is math.
There's like almost 2,000 of you here. I don't normally get like 2,000 on Tuesdays, but you need to tune in. Please lock it in and tune in. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe to this channel. I need you to tune in on Tuesday, because this sister has some information about what we have to do, because there's a ritual that's going to happen on 120.
Yes.
And we have to do something. And she's an awesome, she's even going to do some numerology reading, but it's more important for her to get this message out and what the numbers say. So please, all of you folks that are on here, please, Tuesday at 8 p.m., be back on the same channel. When we have this special, and then on Friday, because I normally don't do it for Friday. I'm excited. I think it's going down. Brother Magus.
Oh yeah. Good brother.
Brother Magus 9 from Real Nagas.
All right.
Is going to be here next Friday. You don't want to miss that, because normally we don't do it for Friday. And we even have a 5th Friday, so I don't know what we're going to do. But please, like us, like, share and subscribe. Tell somebody, like, you know, most of you all do. Let your friends share the video after this is over. Everything is in archive still right now. So please share the videos.
Yeah,
share the information. Shout out to Dr. Botanica, who was my guest on Tuesday.
Oh yeah.
Chat.
Yeah.
He's a dear friend of yours.
Yes.
And so thank him for being in the chat, and each and every one of you, we thank you. And we appreciate you.
And hope we've done some good.
Right. Thank you again. We thank you for your support. We thank you for your love. But when we have almost 2,000 people, I know a little more than 7 of you can support what we're doing. But even if you don't, we still love you. Gershi?
Yeah.
Anything else?
Study.
You've been saying that.
No, I can't say more.
How about some silver? Guess they need to get some silver and gold.
Now, keep in mind, for those of you, because remember, numerology and necromancy, those are, no, but I'm just saying, these are studies of life and death, actually. Right. You understand? Those are short or what you call condensed versions of cosmology, astrology.
Mhm.
They're shortcuts. Now, the real deal is understand a lot of things that are being played out right now too.
Mhm.
Keep in mind the dark priesthood still uses the science. They just use dark side. That's all. So everything they're doing is still by the numbers and are rituals.
Wow. Well,
They don't do things happenstance. They're still using your ancient rituals.
yeah.
Yes.
I want to also I was during while you were playing, I wasn't
Mhm.
feeling that good. I
Sphere that is or has arisen at Planet Midgard in this last couple of years, particularly, and due to the fact that many of our people are suffering as usual due to hybrid European occupation under the Spanish Inquisition and under the Roman bullas. I find it useful at this time to go over some notes relative to my earlier notes of from 1984 to early 1993 and 4 in that area, which comprises my book here, which you see here. Treaty of Peace and Friendship, the Constitution for the United States of America. And this comprises many of the snippets of information that that I gathered over the years. And around 1984 and 85, on one of my trips to the Library of Congress at Washington, District of Columbia, foreign territory under Roman jurisdiction, bordering the territories that you know as Maryland and Virginia, known as Alexandria, which we used to go on trips every year. So in around 84, I also went to the Library of Congress and went into the congressional records to get some notes on the original article of Amendment 13 with its 20 sections. And because many of the status conflicts that have been taking place, particularly with activities of active Moors at North America, being both misrepresented and also being attacked under Roman law, contrary to the common law and contrary to constitution and treaties, and in relationship to the subsequent controversies and conversations that have taken place, particularly in these last few months, I find it useful to go into some of my old notes um, to give some reflection on the status of the Moors, of our people here on our land, the Maghreb, that you know as Morocco, the most extreme west, which you know as America, with the heartland of the Moroccan Empire being at northwest of Mexico, or what you know as North America, Al Morocco. And as you all know, that Venus being the pentagram symbol in the center of the star of, of the Moors, and you already know we use multiple flags or for the different tribes and for the different dynasties. Also, we use solid red flags too for these different Moorish dynasties, etc. However, because of the problems that are taking place, particularly that North America, under a color of operations, I find it useful to go into the treaty book to present some things to you to put in perspective for many people who are awakening to the political corruption operating at North America and for many Moors who are national and may belong to Moor Science Temple of America, to the Order of the Great Seal, to Circle of Mothers and Sons, to the Moorish Honor Society, to the Round Table, to many of the active Moorish groups. Some of the Moorish groups, as you all know, have been extremely passive, and others have been very active. And of course, when you see that taking place and having different effects with the people, logically, some people have comprehension of what's going on, some have less comprehension, and because it appears to be, in some ways, extremes to one end or the other, I'm presenting some historical facts and information that will help bring peace in many areas for many people who may have miscomprehensions or misunderstandings about certain things that are said or certain things that are done or certain activities that Moors take and certain concepts that are behind certain activities, and to have a more intelligent position or view on those things which are taking place and which are accelerating and which will take place, etc., so as to bring a more, what you would say, continuity to the realities of the political perspectives, the status of the Moors, the true status of the Moors, the compromises, and the assessments that should be needed or used to aid our people on this long journey to liberation on their own land, distinguished from color of law activities, distinguished from color of office activities, distinguished from color of authority activities, etc., which colors all of the activities or all of the actions in economics and politics of North America. And for those who have some limited knowledge of the politics here, I want to preface this session, with some established statements and facts. And this is with the intent of putting many things into a more proper historical, proper chronological, and proper political perspective. Now, world history of empires and nations in these contemporary times has been, for the most part, reconstructed by corrupted hybrid Europeans who have been operating at North America, many of whom have been perpetrating or stealing people's identities under a color of law, under occupational principles, and then many who have been calling themselves Americans when they're actually occupational hybrid Europeans who have taken over the lands of the Aboriginal people, who are the true Americans, who are in harmony with the alchemical metal of Venus, which is copper. And so the true Americans are the copper complexion people. You take a penny, put it on your hand, and you'll see who the Americans are. Now that's a fact. However, because much of the history here at North America has been reconstructed, there's much confusion, because many of the hybrid Europeans have been going to and fro the earth, waging wars in the name America when they themselves, in fact, are not and were not Americans, and have caused many peoples around the earth to charge America and Americans with the corruptions, the injuries, the war and genocide nature, character, and political platforms that are actually constructed and run by people who have been occupying America, but are indeed and in fact not Americans. And so, to put things in perspective, it must be comprehended and it must be understood that the hybrid Europeans who have been operating at North America under treaty and constitution principles are held obligatory to the treaties and to the Constitution for the United States of America. That is conjoined with, yet distinct from, the Aboriginal peoples of the land. So that must be comprehended and understood. And when you look at the Constitution for the United States of America, you must look at the obligations and duties that are put in place to secure the rights that pre-exist of both the Aboriginal peoples, i.e. the true Americans, and the obligations and duties in force relative to all treaties, etc. And that would be in the nature of Article 3, Section 1 and 2, and Article 6 of the Constitution for the United States, and Article 4, Section 4. And they should be reviewed by people to put some of the things that are being said in this session both to rest and into proper perspective. And so the literary and the political convolutions, that have been constructed here at North America is well known by historians and scholars alike. And some of these notations that are going to be presented to you tonight are to put some of these false concepts to rest, and also to assist the true Almadacans, known as Americans, who are the natural people of the land, in a more realistic estate perspective of all hereditaments associated with and connected to the aggregate and organic land, America and Americans. So your estate, America, extends from the 18th degree north latitude to the 54th degree south latitude here at Midgard Earth. In relationship to the political operations at North America, particularly civil jurisdictions or the exercise of civil jurisdictional powers on the land, have been no doubt known by all of you and most people who are seriously trying to solve some of the problems that are befalling the people now politically and economically. You must know that and put in perspective that the United States of America, as far as the hybrid Europeans' participation relative to treaties and constitution on the land, etc., at North America, was dissolved in 1800s. And so I'm going to go to some of the congressional records to put things in perspective so that the concepts that you see exercised by many of the people of the land, exercising rights that already existed with them, and then you see in many instances where many of the hybrid Europeans who've been claiming to be Americans are exercising judicial powers and authoritative powers and sovereign powers that are not vested with them or in them, and in fact having no authority whatsoever to exercise any political powers or political activities whatsoever. So let's go to the congressional records to give you and share with you some foundations for you to have some comprehension of what's going on in the political scene, particularly relative to the status of the true Americans, the copper complexion people of America, who are the Americans, and other people who claim to be Americans are not Americans, so that we can start solving some of these economic, social, and political problems that are befalling the people. Now, the dissolution, this would be on page 94. The dissolution of the United States of America. And keep in mind, the United States of America is a political acronym. So when you're talking about the United States of America, we're not talking about the United States of America, Mexico. And we're not talking about the United States of America, San Salvador. We're not talking about the United States of Brazil. All of these are the United States of America. So understand that the United States of America is a political metaphor. We're discussing, at this point, the United States of America corporation activities taking place at central part of North America under the auspices of what is usually known as the USA or the United States of America, absent of a national name. If you recognize that there's an absence of a national name when they make reference to the operations at North America, distinguished from, say, Canada, which is an affiliate under the Queen with the United States Corporation, absolutely distinguished from Mexico, which are Americans. Now, so when you say the United States of America, you'll never hear them be referred to as United Statesians, which would be proper since that's the name of that political platform. But by the operators representing the political operations at here with reconstructed history, we'll share some records with you to put things in perspective. Now, the Congress operating for the United States adjourned Sine Die on Wednesday, the 27th day of March. And so you see that that's 1,061 or 1,861. And you also know that the hybrid Europeans altered the calendars to throw the people off. So when you're looking at the treaties, peace and friendship with the United States, you'll see two different dates. We'll not go into that immediately because I want to save this time for some points that we're making. But you have an alteration of roughly 581 years. So you must put that in perspective. That's another thing for you to look at whenever you're looking at chronologies of operations at North America, that much of what you've been told is really out of sequence. That's not accidental. That's a deliberate activity. So the Congress for the United States of America adjourned sine die on Wednesday, 27th day of March, 1861. And this political fact is expressed and documented for the record in the Congressional Globe and printed on page 1526, dated March the 28th. Now, sine die is derived from Old Norse Latin, meaning without day, without assigning a day for a further meeting or hearing. Therefore, sine die means a final adjournment, a final dismissal of a cause, and quod it sine die, that he go without day. And thus the corporate United States of North America was legally and factually dissolved on March 27th of 1861 AD. Now, I'll give you part of the congressional records in support of what is presented to you. Adjournment sine die, this from the from congressional records. And as a matter of fact, when I went to Washington in 1984, and I got some of the records because I already knew that many of the people around us have been compromised. And keep in mind, your three-letter agencies always infiltrate any organization or group of people that are enforcing treaty and constitution due to the fact that they know they're operating under a color of law. And they know that most people have not been aware of that due to their miseducation set forth by the Satanist societies led by John D. Rockefeller and Frederick T. Gates, and particularly their General Education Board set forth in 1902, where they reinforced their practice of educating humans under what is known as animal husbandry. So this is the record. And so what I did, I took the documents that I got from Washington D.C. and I want you to see as a counter to those who I knew would counter me as I begin to share this information. I actually photoshopped the print directly from the records rather than retype it, so that when they do the research, they could see it for themselves. And that's this right here, in that box. That's why I put it in that box. Adjournment sine die. Mr. Powell, from the committee appointed to wait on the President of the United States and notify him that unless he has some further communication to make, the Senate is ready to adjourn. Reported that the committee had waited on the president and been informed by him that he had no further communication to make to the Senate. Mr. Foster, I move to take up, the resolution which I submitted a short time ago, an adjournment without day at 15 minutes before 4 o'clock. Mr. Hale, I move that the Senate do now adjourn sine die. The motion was agreed to, and the Senate adjourned sine die. At that point, the United States of America was dissolved. So when people talk about the economic problems that they're experiencing today with the private commercial paper or private commercial paper notes belonging to the Jesuit order and to the Pope of Rome via the Federal Reserve, etc., are controlled by the Satanist societies, secret societies, for the enforcement of the unum sanctum operations of the Pope of Rome, under the unum sanctum operations and the Spanish Inquisition against the Moors, and the conquest of the Western Hemisphere, known as under the military code of the conquest by Columbus, etc., which is not so much a man as it is a military operation. For the Jesuit order, which is a military operation and has nothing to do with spiritual development whatsoever, never did. And from these improper constructs came most of your three-letter agencies that now actually rule at the Maghreb and have been causing the wars in the different nation states around the world, particularly in Africa and Asia, as they have already, conquered the Maghreb or the Western Hemisphere. And so that must be put in perspective when you go into these things. And the other thing that I want to bring to your attention, and this is in relationship to many of the so-called because this is a nom de guerre construct, the so-called black community is a branding concept. It has nothing to do with bloodline, pedigree, or African people. It has to do with a branding system constructed to separate or to cause what you call political disassociation, as well as mental psychic attack, disassociation of African peoples from their land, here in America, which is Al-Marak, the Maghreb, etc. And to support the reconstructed history that has been put forth by Satanist writers and scholars in order to secure the psychological warfare and psychic attack programs that are necessary to disinherit it and to disenfranchise the true Americans from the land and from what you would call any grounded or solid political activities or hereditament claims, etc., or estate claims. Commonly just simply referred to as to enforce colonial operations. I want to go into the original article of Amendment 13, and in particularly, I'll read through it with its 20 sections, and this comes from the congressional records. And I want you all to take note of Article 12. And this is to put in perspective the actual status of the Aboriginal people here, distinguished from what you've been told in both the reconstructed history books and also that you've been told by people who have been assigned by the conquerors to help miseducate the people, to disconnect them from the land, etc. um, by promoting what you would call the 14th Amendment civil rights Negro citizenship status, which is a total and absolute misrepresentation and a total fraud. Below, and I also can't say this from the original print. That's from the original print. That's not a retype, that's original print. The original 20 sections of the 13th Amendment from the pages of the Congressional Records, Article 13. Section 1. All persons shall have the right peaceably to assemble and worship God according to the dictates of their own conscience. Section 2. The use of the public press shall not be obstructed, but criminal publications made in one state against the lawful institutions of another state shall not be allowed. Section 3. The right of the citizens to free and lawful speech in public assemblies shall not be denied. Access of citizens to the ballot box shall not be obstructed either by civil or military power. The military shall always be subordinate to the existing judicial authority over citizens. The privilege of the writ of habeas corpus shall never be suspended in the presence of the judicial authority. Section 4. The militia of a state or of the United States shall not be employed to invade the lawful rights of the people of any of the several states, but the United States shall not be hereby deprived of the right and power to defend and to protect its property and rights within the limits of any of the states. Section 5. Persons held to service or labor for life in any state under the laws thereof may be taken into any territory of the United States south of north latitude 3630, and the right of such service or labor shall not be impaired thereby, and the territorial legislature thereof shall have the exclusive right to make and shall make all needful rules and regulations for the protection of such right, and also for the protection of such persons. But Congress or any territorial legislature shall not have power to impair or abolish such right of service in the said territory while in a territorial condition without the consent of all the states south of said latitude which maintain such service. Section 6. Involuntary servitude, except for crime, shall not be permanently established within the district set apart for the seat of government of the United States, but the right of sojourn in such district, which persons held to service or labor for life shall not be denied. Section 7. When any territory of the United States south of north latitude 3630 shall have a population equal to the ratio of representation for one member of Congress, and the people thereof shall have formed a constitution for republican form of government, it shall be admitted as a state into the Union on an equal footing with the other states, and the people may in such constitution either prohibit or sustain the right to involuntary labor or service, and alter or amend the Constitution at their will. Section 8. The present right of representation in Section 2, Article 1 of this Constitution shall not be altered without the consent of all the states maintaining the right to involuntary service or labor south of latitude 3630. But nothing in this Constitution or its amendments shall be construed to deprive any state south of said latitude 3630 of the right of abolishing involuntary servitude at its will. Section 9. The regulation and control of the right to labor or service in any of the states south of latitude 3630 is hereby recognized to be exclusively the right of each state within its own limits, and the Constitution shall not be altered or amended to impair the right of each state without its consent, provided this article shall not be, construed to absolve the United States from rendering assistance to suppress insurrections or domestic violence when called upon by any state as provided in Section 4, Article 4 of this Constitution. Section 10. No state shall pass any law in any way interfering with or obstructing the recovery of fugitives from justice or from labor or service, or any law of Congress made under Article 4, Section 2 of this Constitution, and all laws in violation of this section may, on complaint made by any person or state, be declared void by the Supreme Court of the United States. Section 11. As a right of comity between the several states south of latitude 3630, the right of transit with persons held to involuntary labor or service from one state to another shall not be obstructed, but such persons shall not be brought into the states north of south latitude. Section 12. The traffic in slaves with Africa is hereby forever prohibited on pain of death, and the forfeiture of all the rights and the property of all persons engaged therein, and the descendants of Africans shall not be citizens. Section 13. The alleged fugitives from labor or service on request shall have a trial by jury before being returned. Section 14. All alleged fugitives charged with crime committed in violation of the laws of the state shall have the right of trial by jury, and if such person claims to be a citizen of another state, shall have a right to appeal or of a writ of error to the Supreme Court of the United States. Section 15. All acts of any inhabitant of the United States tending to incite persons held to service or labor, to insurrection or acts of domestic violence, or to abscond are hereby prohibited and declared to be a penal offense. And all courts of the United States shall be open to suppress and punish such offenses as the suit of any citizen of the United States or the suit of any state. Section 16. All conspiracies in any state to interfere with the lawful rights in any other state or against the United States shall be suppressed, and no state of the people thereof shall withdraw from this union without the consent of 3/4 of all the states expressed by an amendment proposed and ratified in the manner provided in Article 5 of the Constitution. Section 17. Whenever any state wherein involuntary servitude is recognized or allowed shall propose to abolish such servitude and shall apply for pecuniary assistance therein, the Congress may, in its discretion, grant such relief, not exceeding $100 for each person liberated. But Congress shall not propose such abolishment or relief to any state. Congress may assist free persons of African descent to immigrate and colonize Africa. Section 18. Duties on imports may be imposed for revenue, but shall not be excessive or prohibitory in amount. Section 19. When all of the several states shall have abolished slavery, then and thereafter slavery or involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime, shall never be established or tolerated in any of the states or territories of the United States, and they shall be forever free. Section 20. The provisions of this article relating to involuntary labor or servitude shall not be altered without the consent of the states maintaining such servitude. Close out. That is the 20 sections of original Article of Amendment 13, which is not taught in the schools, and it's not by accident, because the scholars, the historians, and the politicians at North America themselves, not only did they dissolve or abrogate their obligations and duties as officers for the Constitution for the United States by adjourning sine die and, of course, assassinating Abraham Lincoln, they have been operating ever since de facto and pretending to be a legitimate political platform, and have successfully miseducated the people, misrepresented themselves as a legitimate nation state around the world, when in fact they were private corporations that went bankrupt, etc., and under subversion actually adjourned sine die with the already established plan to assassinate Abraham Lincoln in the process of their adjourning sine die. So in 1861, the United States of America as a political platform was dissolved. Did not remove the obligations of treaties, etc., which supersede the Constitution, from which that Constitution was derived from fatwa, or known as Moorish law or Muslim law, which is no secret to scholars, etc., which Barack H. Obama also exposed when he went to Egypt, knowing that that information has not been taught in the school books at North America. However, I want to share with you all